WagerTalk TV, Andrew McGinnis, Carmine Bianco, and Don Buster. 3 great games to break down. One just a bit better than all the others. Best bets at the end, props, and all kinds of great stuff in between. I'm fired up for today, guys. Love the board for today. Went 1-1 yesterday. We did lose the show play. We'll try and bounce back with that. We did catch some free plays on the show, though, including that Columbus team total under as they continue to struggle scoring. But an interesting night last night in the NHL, Carm. Every game besides one goes under the total. So what a slow start Monday to kick off the NHL week. I have a feeling tonight might be a bit more exciting. But how you doing, Carm? How was your night last night?
I'm doing great. 2 plays on yesterday's card, Leafs in regulation. They easily get that done against Calgary in what was a good spot. And one other play, it won. Can't remember what it was, but 9-1. No, I'm kidding. A 9-1 NHL run, Andrew, for me. So I'm pretty happy about that. We just need to keep it going. We had some good opinions on the show yesterday, which seemed to all come through. The Sabres going over the total, Andrew, in the first period, and then that game kind of died down after that. We talk about that a lot, that can happen. Game goes over the first period, stays under for the game. 3 goals in the first period of the Bruins game. If you had the over, you were liking it until it gets settled 3-2 in OT. So with that said, we're not talking about the free space on the bingo card. We're talking about a team that has shed that title, boys. The Montreal Canadiens. Yes, your Montreal Canadiens. 1 point out of a playoff spot tonight. Such a mix-up of games today that the whole playoff picture can look completely different tomorrow if the Canadiens win, if the Rangers lose to Calgary in regulation. So I'm going to throw it to Buster first. These 2 teams hate each other, Ottawa and Montreal. It's become a really good rivalry. Canadiens both wins this season. I'm going to make mine easy, so this way you guys can dispute it. Montreal 7-1-2 their last 10 games, very good record, but 6 straight wins for Ottawa, 7-0-1 their last 8 games. I don't want to get in front of this Ottawa team, but I know Montreal is going to give them a fight. I'm still going to take the Sens minus 140 and toss it to you, Buster, and welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Carmine. I don't expect anything else from you when me and Andrew are here with being diehard Montreal fans. Yeah, you're right. Both these teams have been red hot of late. Ottawa, as you said, have won 6 straight, and Montreal have won 7 of the last 10. Those 10 games, all after the break, they actually have got a point in 9 of those 10 games. The 3, I say they've won 7 out of the 10. 2 of the games they lost in overtime. And the only game they actually didn't get a point was the 1-0 loss to Calgary, which, being a Montreal fan, or just being a hockey fan, you can say that they might have deserved a better fate there as well. So they're playing some excellent hockey, both clubs. Montreal has won both games between the clubs this year, 5-2 and 4-1. So Ottawa does have in-season revenge here in this spot. And before those 2 wins for Montreal, Ottawa had won 8 straight over the Canadiens. So that's a little interesting. I'm trying to take the Montreal fan out of it here because last week we had Seattle and Montreal, and I had talked about how, the price just seemed way too high, and Montreal was a little bit of a live dog. Well, Montreal's at home tonight, and they're a little bit of a live dog as well, if you ask me. Everything that tells us that, I get, because it's Montreal, they get no respect. But, they've been playing great hockey the last 10 games. There's, if it was anybody else, they would definitely not be an underdog at home in this spot in the way they've been playing, regardless that Ottawa has won 6 straight. So I like Montreal here plus the 120. And like I say, I'm saying the same thing that I said here last week. Unfortunately, Montreal let up an empty net goal last week against Seattle. They had that game, and then they lost in overtime. Well, that's a shock. Anytime I bet the team and they go to overtime, tend to lose those games. But and like I always say, I don't really like betting my Canadians because those are the kind of things that happen, right? But I do like, you got to like Montreal plus the price. As far as the total, both mentioned those both games. One game went over, and one game went under this year so far. But Ottawa's been a dead over team, like dead over. They're 13-2-1 their last 16 over the total. Montreal are 5-5 over the total their last 10. But at home, they've been scoring some goals. Over their last 5 games, they've averaged almost 3.6 goals a game. So they are scoring at home. And they did put up a 5 spot against these Senators the first game back after the break. So there's something with that. I do like the over here. Over 5.5. It's over 20. I like that play. So we'll do a little correlation. We're going to take Montreal and over in this one, guys.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I would like to thank Andrew and Buster for, just kidding. Andrew's muted. He doesn't know what's going on there. Andrew, come on. This is like All Sports Montreal radio station. Buster just gave us the Moby Dick version of the Montreal Canadiens season. That was so long, but I love the guy nonetheless. Andrew, who are you taking in this game?
Oh man, back to my two uncles chirping each other. Look, this is the thing. It's a real shame because anything that Buster and I say, I'll speak for myself. I don't want to bring Buster down with me, but as everybody knows, we're Canadiens fans. Both of us don't take our team very often. I think I might have released one play all year on the Canadiens. But I do like the Habs tonight. And, you know, I'll tell you what, one of the reasons why is because when you take a look at these teams, you never want to use this, and people are probably going to tune out when I say this word. This is the word that we're supposed to all be allergic to in the sports betting world. So just bear with me. But I think one team more than others is due for a letdown spot. I'm sorry, I said it. Arrest me. I said the do word, okay? We're not supposed to say that do word. But they are playing a really good brand of hockey, this Senators team. But that Senators versus Leafs game was super, super hyped up. That game was one of the biggest games of the year for the Senators team, it feels like, because they truly believe in their heart that they can meet the Maple Leafs in the playoffs. They thought whether it was going to be, you know, the first round, second round, whatever it was going to be, if they were the second wild card seed and Toronto was the first or whatever it might be, they think they're better than Toronto. And they got up for that one and they beat them. In the game before that, they took care of the Bruins. They took care of the Flyers and the Wings and the Rangers, all kinds of non-playoff teams before that. But that game for them against the Senators was huge. And don't get me wrong, the Canadiens are off a big win themselves against the Florida Panthers. But they got humbled, and I mean humbled, against the Seattle Kraken when they were up 4-2. They gave up 2 straight goals, guys. And then the Seattle Kraken set the record, the NHL record for the fastest overtime victory in NHL history. I feel like those type of games can humble a team a little bit. And this Ottawa Senators team is playing so damn well right now. It's hard to go against them. But at home, with the way this Canadian team is playing right now, with the way Montembeault is playing, I would take the Canadiens if I was betting this one. And, you know, I think it's 5.5 for a reason. You got 2 goaltenders playing pretty well. This is going to be a pretty good player prop game, I think. I have a feeling that it's going to be hovering right around that number. I could see this one sitting at 3-2, and you kind of need that empty netter to get over, or you know, you see some power plays and need those power play goals to get over here. But, you know, Carm, I know that we're not supposed to think like this, and I'm going back to you with this because you know I'm the Habs fan. I know you're picking the Sens here. That game with Montreal, Florida was a huge win for Montreal, of course. But I truly believe that Ottawa win versus Toronto, I mean, I'm not saying that's their Stanley Cup, but that meant a hell of a lot to them. I feel like Montreal has more of a rival with Ottawa than Ottawa thinks that they're a rival with us. Ottawa has beat the Canadiens for the past few years. Ottawa's real rival right now is the Maple Leafs. They think that they're that class above. I don't know. I'm kind of feeling like this is the letdown spot for Ottawa. Am I off base to think that? Do you think that, both teams are off big wins, so they can't both be riding a high? What do you think?
Yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, and just to clarify one thing, I'm taking the Sens, excuse me, taking the Sens tonight because I like the Sens in this spot. I just don't want to get in front of them, a team that is winning at their clip. It has nothing to do with obviously you guys being Montreal fans. So
Of course, of
because
course.
I know there's people watching, and they may not know that shtick that we have. Just the same way I poke fun at Lawrence and his Toronto Maple Leafs. But with that said, I like the Sens in this spot. Could it be a flat spot? It could, but I think the fact it's against Montreal instead of them going into somewhere where, or like the island to play the Islanders, or
Yeah.
in New Jersey, or one of these teams where it doesn't mean much. This one does mean much. It's an important 4-pointer, and even though they have some space between them and Montreal and the Rangers, um, they're still right there. A small 2, 3, 4 game losing streak, and bam, you're right back in the middle of battling for 8th spot. So the game's important to them. We'll see it in the opening 20 minutes or so, because you'll see whether Brady Tkachuk is a big part of this team and getting out there early, whether there's an early fight in this one. I think the best thing the Montreal Canadiens could do is try and lull the Ottawa Senators to sleep in this game. Don't make it seem like it's a big game. Don't stir the pot, because the Leafs tried to do that against Ottawa, and that didn't work out. Early lead, and then a fight, and then it all falls apart for them as well too. So don't wake up the Ottawa Senators, and you have a chance to win this game. You wake them up by playing a physical game, which the Canadiens I don't think normally do, Andrew, and it could be a bad night for Les Habitants.
It's a real good point, Carm. And it's funny because I was watching a game the other day and I was thinking about this. I'm sure Buster agrees with me on this too. Is like, don't get me wrong. We can all enjoy a low scoring game. Like as true hockey fans, we can all get behind low scoring games when they're good hockey. But at the end of the day, like you don't care how the game goes if you're watching your team, right? And I think one thing with the Canadiens right now is that a lot of their goals have been off the counterattack. That's how they're scoring. Like, I mean, if we're being completely honest, they have been kind of parking the bus a little bit. And a lot of their forwards are sitting back. It's reminding me a little bit, except for they have more talent now, of that run they made during the COVID bubble. Like, they are completely sitting back. It's like one thing I'll say about this team before I just come across way too biased is that I think that every guy knows their role. Like Jake Evans, he knows he's not a goal scorer. Christian Dvorak, he's not a goal scorer. So these guys, when they're on the ice, they're on there to play defensive hockey. And so I feel like that's one thing that's good about them. They lack depth offensively, but they also have a bunch of guys that are playing that way. So it is kind of interesting, though, when you look at the total here in this one. I know, Buster, you were saying you lean towards the over here, but think about 2 years from now. This total would have been a 6.5 shaded towards the over. Now you got Montembeault and Allmark, these guys starting to play a bit better. It goes to show that these games matter. I want to get Buster back in the mix with one thing, then we'll go to the next game. Buster, do you believe that these games, because I know you're on the over, obviously it's 5.5. Do you believe these games that with wildcard implications are seeing more defense than, let's say, if, I don't know, Chicago and San Jose were playing? Is it too early to say that? Usually we say that at the end of the year. Is it too early to say that? With the games that are more defensive with the tight implications?
Actually, Andrew, we have about 15, 16 games for teams left. Yeah, you have seen actually this last, maybe just very recently, 2 or 3 days, you had mentioned it at the top of the show that there's a bunch of unders last night. So I understand that there can be unders, but you have a certain team like Ottawa who they play overs, and Montreal at home score goals. So and when I look at that, and they've been, playing overs themselves between the clubs too. So again, I would say moving forward, maybe take a look at that. Look, maybe coming up next week, chart them down, Andrew. That's what I always say. So if you're in that feeling that this is the time that's starting, 16 games out, I sometimes will start looking personally about 10 games out. Once there's about 10 games left, I'll look at these teams and see if they start to play more unders, if they're playing more defense. But some of these teams aren't even built that way anyways. So it makes it tough. They need to score to beat teams. And yes, Allmark's been playing great in net for Ottawa right now. But we all know what can happen too that way. That he's on a great run right now. Does that mean he stays on it? Does he go back to what he was like back in his history last year? Well, only time will tell.
Well, this is kind of a playoff implications
too much
game
about the Montreal Canadiens.
Let's get to
ahead,
Red Wings
Andrew.
and Capitals. Red Wings Capitals here.
Yeah.
This is obviously a playoff implications game as well. The Red Wings are trying to hang on, and they just shut out the Vegas Golden Knights, coming off a good game for them. And guys, one thing about this Detroit Red Wings team is that they've been kind of playing good hockey, but just they weren't able to get those results, it seemed, kind of as of late, losing to the Hurricanes, losing to the Senators, losing to the Capitals back earlier in the month, losing to the Utah Hockey Club. They got the win over the free space on the bingo card, the Sabres, but other than that, that's about it. The Sabres and the Knights, the two teams that they have knocked off. So I'm looking right now, the opening number in this one I saw was minus 200. Looking at oddslogic.com. Now current price at circa minus 155. Average number I'm seeing, though, is minus 160. So this thing has changed quite a bit here from Washington, from the opener to where they are right now. FanDuel minus 172. We got DraftKings coming in around minus 170. So the numbers are a little bit interesting on this game. When it comes down to it overall, guys, I'm seeing, as far as expected goals for in March, Detroit, the number one ranked team out of every team in the NHL, number one ranked team, and expected goals against Detroit, the number 3 ranked team. So statistically, I would say the hockey nerds would be loving the Red Wings this month, but the scoreboard doesn't love them very much. That's why it goes to show the eye test matters. The analytics are in favor of this Red Wings team. The eye test, not as much, because they can't convert on their chances. Who knows? Maybe they will, but Washington has a good goalie. Washington plays good defense as well. Guys, I like the under. When I see a team that is so high up and number 1 in March in expected goals for, but they haven't been converting, it's too late. It's March 18th. I'm looking at this Natural Stat Trick website, but I do like the numbers I saw for them being number 3 overall defensively. Washington, they've been playing a lot of high-scoring games lately. Saw some quotes about them wanting to clean things up, a bit messy hockey we've seen from them recently. I'll take the under in this contest here and look for a defensive game, as I do believe games where teams are fighting for playoff positions are going to be a little bit tighter. And if Detroit gets a lead, they're going to try and hold on to it. So we'll see if the under's in play tonight. Carm, what do you think in this one?
Well, my initial reaction is obviously to lean to the under here. I'm just wondering whether if there was ever a spot that seemed flat or could be flat for Washington, this is the one, coming back off a 3-game West Coast trip, which was a successful one, but that first game back can be a tough one. They've had one prior one where they had earlier in the season, they had a 4-game Western road trip, came back home and were absolutely flat in that one, but only lost 2-1, but they lost the game. That was to Colorado, who they had played on the road trip and beaten in Colorado. So I feel like it's a flat spot here, and I think maybe that's why a little bit of Detroit money is coming in. The importance of the game, plus 155. The only thing that ever worries me about is if you get ahead of Washington and then you just try and sit back and play defense, they're going to score on you eventually. You've got to play solid defensively, but you can't vacate your offense in order to play defense. That's what the Vancouver Canucks are trying to do right now and getting 14 or 15 shots on goal. The chance of winning a game when you only get 14 or 15 shots on goal obviously reduces unless you have a fantastic goal accuracy. But with that said, Andrew, this one, yeah, it opened at 200. Then I saw 185 before the show. I like the under with you, but I would sprinkle, as Kelly Stewart would say, some pizza money on Detroit at the best plus number you can get. Buster, what do you think?
Yeah, well, Carmine, you guys have broken down pretty good, but we'll continue. Washington are fighting with Winnipeg for that number one overall spot, and that may be important. Come up. I know it's very important to Winnipeg because they're a very good home team, and Washington is also. The Red Wings are fighting for basically that last playoff spot, and they're actually only 2 points out with the game in hand, so they're right there. Washington are playing, as you had mentioned, Carmine, their first home game after a 3-game West road trip, and that's sometimes always a little bit problematic. They have had 2 days off, though, so that does help. And Washington have won 6 of their last 7 games. They're playing really well. Now, Detroit, they're starting to come around. Like you say, they took a bunch of bad losses. Andrew has mentioned it. They just can't score. That's crazy that they just can't score. I think that's going to come around eventually. They put up 3 against a very good Vegas defense in the last game, and they looked really good when that game 3-0. This is going to be that first game of a 4-game road trip for Detroit. And I think that's important here as well because they want to get off on the right start. That's for sure, because it's a nasty 4-game road trip. We actually mentioned it when we talked about the Detroit last week when we were saying when they had to win that Buffalo game against Buffalo, and they did quite easily because of this road trip coming up. They play tonight in Washington. They play at Vegas, at Utah, at Colorado. Ouch, that's pretty bad. So I could see Detroit putting one of their better games up tonight for that first game. So my advice here, to me, there's a lot of other games tonight, but in this one, if you like Detroit, I don't know if I can. Now that it's been bet down, do you want to take 150 with Detroit? Obviously, the price when I was looking at taking the puck line with Detroit, which I think is a good play, it was around minus 140. So I'm going to assume that's probably up to 160 or so now because of the lines come down. And if you like Washington at the time, you couldn't lay 2-1. I don't know if you could lay 170 or 180, whatever it is now. 185 I see there. So you might want to, if you like Washington, you bet on Washington regulation. You'll get a good price there. As for the total, it's at 6. There's some 6.5s on the board this morning. I'm not sure if they're still there. At 6.5, obviously it's an over. An under. I should have probably took that under 6.5 when I had a chance. It was under juiced, but still, that might have been a very good play. Both teams have played twice. They've played twice this year, and they've actually gone over in both games. But what's a little strange is that the totals in that first game was 4-2. The total was 5.5. They just played on March 7th. And Washington won 5-2, and that game the total line was 6.5. So again, even the odds makers are having trouble putting the total on these two clubs. So I'll just put out a few more stats. Detroit are 5-4-1 to the over last 10. Washington are 7-3 to the over the last 10. I kind of lean Detroit plus 1.5 and I don't really want any part of this total, but I don't think these games will make my card. Best of luck to all you guys that are betting this game under 6.
Andrew, before I send it to you for your props playlist, one quick look at this one. If you subscribe to the fact this could be a flat spot for the Washington Capitals first back off a 3-game road trip, and then you're also worried about Detroit getting ahead and then not being able to hold on to that lead because they go to a defensive style, is a better play to take Detroit first period. They've played twice. Both home teams have won, 4-2 Detroit at home, 5-2 for Washington at home. But ironically, the Red Wings have held the lead after 20 minutes in both games. Would you take the plus 130, sit for 20 minutes, and then say, that's it, I'm done?
I don't know. I want to give them a full game. I want to give them the full game, I think. I don't know if I would take that first pick. I'd give them the full game to see if they. But you're right, though. I mean, yeah, I mean, it could be a flat spot at the start. The only thing is again, I think the focus is going to be on defense for both teams out the gate. So, you know what? You know what you kind of made me think, Carm, by asking that is that maybe the under 1.5 in the first period is a good play because maybe this game just gets off to a flat start as it is. Maybe whichever team scores first sits back, protects that lead, and then cruises into the second period with that lead. I am fully subscribing to the fact that I think these teams like Detroit, Montreal, Columbus that are playing in these playoff type games already with 16 games to go, they're going to play in lower scoring games. So we'll see. I don't know if the first period's for me in this one, though.
Yeah, and we'll end it there. It's obviously the game of importance, more so for Detroit than it is for Washington. Washington's got a nice little comfortable lead up top. So if you're ever going to have a flat spot, this could be the spot returning home off the West Coast trip. But we'll see because they've had such a great season. I think the Detroit first period might be a play that I take for a little pizza money as well too. Anyways, speaking of must wins, give us some must hit props tonight, Andrew. I got a good feeling on this. Let's go.
All right, we've got two that we are going to look at here. Before I get to that, though, we do have a big play going tonight in the NHL, and that play is just $5, guys. But if you do want to join me for the long term and not just for this one play, I just got a promo code from front office right live during this show. The promo code is PuckPass25, 25% off the rest of the NHL season. That's a great deal, and it's all with the long term, guys. You know, doing very well, 72% all season on 5% plays. Run a really good run right now in the short term as well. Puck Pass 25, 25% off the full remaining NHL season in the regular season, plus playoffs, futures, all that good stuff, guys. Puck Pass 25. Use that over at WT.buzz/AM. All right, Carm. We got to look towards a guy that has been carrying his team. This guy has been shooting the puck a ton. He has also been getting a lot of points. That's Patrick Kane, Sir Patrick Kane from the Detroit Red Wings. If you want the over 2.5 shots on goal, it's hit in 4 straight games at plus 122. If you want him to get a point, it's minus 130. He has a point in 8 straight games against Washington. This is a guy that's playing extremely well right now. And whether you want the shots on goal or you want the player point, Patrick Kane has been a huge part of this team. So with Patrick Kane, over 2.5 shots on goal, the plus 122, with how huge this game is for the Red Wings, going to have a high shot count against a good goalie over there and a good defense with the Capitals. I'll take that at plus 122. Patrick Kane over with his shots on goal. And the second one, and I'm disappointed in myself for not mentioning this guy more lately, guys, to be honest. Mason McTavish has been playing extremely well for the Anaheim Ducks. And this Ducks team is showing some life. Plus 115 for McTavish to get a point. He's got a point in 5 of his last 6 away games. He's also just really playing on a top line that continues to create plays out there on the power play. They got a matchup against Dallas. They're going to have to score some goals tonight to have a chance against this team. I can see that game going over the total. We'll take McTavish. 1+ point at plus 115. 2+ prices here today, guys. Let's cash these player props. And again, follow me on X at McGinnis Picks, where I tweet out all kinds of props as well. And that promo code, once again, guys, PuckPass25, 25% off my full remaining NHL year. Playoffs are included. All right, Carm, we got one more game left. What do you have for us?
Right, all Canadian battle, and one that does have some importance to it. So I'm going to throw it right to Buster. Winnipeg Jets opened at 135. They're steamed up to 160. I saw just a little while ago. Vancouver from you could have got 135. They're at 115 right now. Total sits 5.5 shaded 20 cents to the under. How do you play in this Winnipeg Jets, Vancouver Canucks?
Well, Carmine, yeah, it has already been steamed up. We played it at 150 last night for our clients already, just a small play on them. Even though Vancouver are 2-3 in their last 5 games, I'm actually kind of surprised they actually even won those 2 games. There's just something, I'm not sure what it is. They just do not look right. Their offense isn't there. I know they're having a hard time even getting shots on goal. They're just definitely not the same team that they were. The other night we actually had Utah. I thought that was a good play. Was that a pick? And the only reason that we made this a smaller play, I actually put up a free play on the WagerTalk free play list, which you can check out with all the free plays and all sports over there at WagerTalk.com. The reason why we just made a small play because just don't like laying big numbers on the road. That's all. But we really like Winnipeg here. They've owned the Canucks, winning 6 of the last 7. They already beat them 6-1 this year. Not too sure. Vancouver, though, is right there in the playoffs, which is mind-boggling. They're in the 8th spot. But I have a feeling you're going to see them run down that Western Conference table pretty quickly. As for the total here, I think we're going to have to pass in this total. It's at 5.5. I could see it with Vancouver struggling to score. I could see it staying under that. Maybe Winnipeg wins 3-1 or 4-0 or something like that. But they already beat them 6-1 this year, and you have to believe Vancouver's got to start playing more offensively or getting some goals or doing something, especially at home. So it's kind of tough though for Vancouver because now they got to play Winnipeg, who, like I said, they're actually fighting for that number 1 seed against Washington, and that would be a really good number 1 overall seed to have for Winnipeg because they're so good at home. It could be very, very helpful for them. These, as far as the total goes here too, these Vancouver's 8-2 to the under last 10. The Jets are 8-2 to the under last 10. Vancouver's 4-3, only 4-3 to the under, but. Again, that's pretty because they've allowed a lot of goals too. So just not really sold in this Vancouver club. I really want no part of the total. And like I say, we already put out a small play on Winnipeg earlier last night.
All right. That is Don Buster, WagerTalk.com. Guys, don't forget, today's $5 Customer Appreciation Day at WagerTalk. A lot of handicappers have a player package up that is $5. Could be for today, could be for one of the March Madness games that kick off this week as well too. Inside that, there's some great promos. So obviously try and take advantage of those. $5 over at Wager Talk. I have a 4% play up, 9-1 NHL run. We'll see if we can keep that going. Andrew, I'm going to keep this pretty easy. I watched that Vancouver game, and they're just no attempt at offense. As they almost, having watched soccer my whole life, it almost seems like some of the teams of the 1980s that they would score a goal and then just sit back trying to win 1-0. Vancouver Canucks do that is they try and take advantage of odd man rushes when they do get them, or get a lead and then just try and lock it down. They just haven't been able to lock it down all season long. Winnipeg just wins when you even think they're going to lose, kind of like starting Eric Comrie against the Seattle Kraken. You figure, okay, that's when I'm going to bet against the Winnipeg Jets, and they end up with the W anyways. So with that said, Andrew, Jets for me. I'm going to toss it over to you for your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this team is so hard to read, Carm, because you don't really, you think like, okay, this is going to be a flat spot for them. And then, of course, they end up showing up and they put together a decent performance. I talked yesterday about the idea behind kind of waiting for a team to kind of get their act together a little bit. That's kind of how I feel about the Canucks right now, guys. I mean, are they a team that we need to wait till they get their act together to bet on them at this point? I don't know, because you know what? Elias Pettersson started playing better. Some of these guys started to gain more chemistry together. but I don't trust them against an elite of the elite teams. And that's just how I feel. I mean, I feel like when you look at this matchup overall and you look at the Winnipeg Jets and you look at the number, as Buster was talking about overnight, I don't care. This is a home matchup here for Vancouver. I don't care about playoffs. I don't care about how important this matters to them, because when I look at this team, I see a team that struggles to put goals on the board on a consistent basis. That's really what I see. And games that they lose, when you look at games that they've lost, I mean, it's been against teams that all haven't really even been, playoff teams. Some of these teams that are taking them down aren't even playoffs teams. I want to take a look at Winnipeg here. I think I look at Winnipeg in regulation. I don't take a lot of regulation wagers, but it is not a team total route for me, and don't know if I want that current money line price. I don't trust this Canucks offense. I don't think they can go goal for goal with the Winnipeg Jets, and I think this is a Winnipeg team that still how great they've been all year long. So this, I'm not sure if it makes my card, guys, but this is more of like a gotta see it before I can believe it type of thing. I'm not willing to get behind the Vancouver bandwagon until I see what they can do and put together a good performance. And for what it's worth, if you want to do anything with Vancouver, you might as well take Garland props, Pettersson props, or Hughes props, because they are nothing without those three players. I'm not interested in backing that team at this point right now. So, yeah, guys, I'll go with the away team here and send it back to you, Carm, for best bets.
Connor Garland. Every time I see this guy, Andrew, if there's a guy who just seems so small on the ice, it's him. It's like, didn't this guy knock on my door to try and sell my house for me a couple of weeks ago? But the guy is like he's like a jalapeno pepper, man. He's out there, he's firing up the team, and he plays extremely well. So kudos to him. Buster, I'm going to go to you first for your show best bets. Let us know what you have up at WagerTalk, and whatever you do, I hope it wins.
Well, thank you, Carmine. As you had mentioned, it's $5 Appreciation Tuesday at the site, and we have a $5 play and a 5% NHL play for only $5, hitting 85% on the season. We've gone 11-2-1 from the start of October on our 5% plays, 85%. You're going to get this one for only $5. Head over to my homepage at Don Buster at WagerTalk.com. And also check out, they have a great deal that we've just put up for at WagerTalk.com for all the cappers. It's buy the month of April, and you get the rest of March for free. What a great deal. So that's for all the cappers at WagerTalk. As Carmine said, there's March Madness going on, the hockey, NBA, golf, you name it. Check that out and go to Don Buster and buy that whole month of April and get March for free. Our show play is going to be in a game that we never really talked about at all, Pittsburgh, the Islander game. We're going to go with the Islanders, basically a pick here. The Islanders have won 2 of the 3 games this season against Pittsburgh. They've also kind of owned this team. They've won 4 of the last 5 and 7 of the last 10. The Islanders, no one's really talking about them. But right now, they're 4 points out of that last playoff spot, and they have 2 games in hand. So they're right there with Detroit and Montreal and everyone else, the Rangers. So it's going to be very, very interesting coming down the stretch here. About 15 games left for most of the teams. Although Pittsburgh, they're 2 points behind the Islanders, but Islanders have 3 games in hand on Pittsburgh. So I just like the Islanders here. Still not a real big fan of Pittsburgh, even though they've won 4. That streak ends tonight. Give us the Islanders at a pick against Pittsburgh. As always, thanks a lot, Carmine and Andrew, for having me on today. Much appreciated. Best of luck, everyone, with all your plays tonight, and best of luck with March Madness. Looking forward to it. My favorite days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, is going to be some great college basketball, lots of fun, lots of ups and downs. So good luck to everyone. And as always, have a great day.
All right, Buster, good luck to you as well, too. Thank you for not getting mad when I sneezed halfway through your discussion there. You could have at least said bless you or whatever. But anyways, as long as you thank
I
everyone in the live chat and watching later on, that's all that really matters. You know what I mean? It's like, I like to thank God as well. Anyway.
I truthfully didn't know what that was, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So $5 Tuesdays over at WagerTalk, 4% play up for me in the NHL tonight. We'll see if we can extend this 9-1 good run that is going on. I have some limited coupons on my page. Well, they were Carm 1, Carm 2, Carm 3, Carm 4, Carm 5 to get $100 off of the rest of the NHL season and playoffs. The first couple got used, so you can still use Carm 3, Carm 4, or Carm 5. They're single use. So once they get used at that price, that's pretty much it. And then I got a deal for soccer, which you can read up on my site as well, too. My show best bet is going to be the New York Rangers in regulation. I'm going to lay the $1.40 here with the Rangers in regulation. Calgary in the second of a back-to-back after getting blasted in Toronto last night. Regardless of whether they have pride or not, they are 2-6 this season in the second of back-to-backs. The New York Rangers, 14 of their 16 wins on home ice have come in the in regulation time. So that's where we're landing here. New York Rangers minus 140 regulation. Andrew, I'll send it over to you for a play and close it out.
All right, guys, let's go 3-0 with these show best bets. Let's get the job done. Again, I got a big play tonight in the NHL, guys. Feel free to grab that. Feel free to grab all three of us over at WagerTalk or the long term, which we always try and let you guys know is the best way to go. Puck Pass 25 is my promo code I'm running right now. 25% off the remaining all games, NHL season, regular season plus playoffs, props, sides, totals, everything you will get in this package. Puck Pass 25% off the remainder of the NHL season. But my best bet for the show is going to be Edmonton team total over 3.5 goals at plus 100 against Utah. You know, both teams played on Friday and they played on Sunday. Same travel schedule, and it's first game back at home after a 4-game road trip. But guess what? It was only a 2-2 road trip. They will not be satisfied. All 4 games on the road trip went under the total. I expect this game to have some goals. We're going to look for at least 4 goals out of the Oilers tonight with that team total over 3.5 at that nice even money plus 100 price. Guys, enjoy the games tonight. Have fun. Bet responsibly and comment below to let us know who you are taking on the ice tonight. That will do it for Puck Time for March 18th. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, right here on WagerTalk TV.